The chamber of the Galactic Council stretched vast and opulent, a sphere of transparent alloy suspended in orbit over the neutral world of Cordiff. Stars glittered beyond the curved walls, a constant reminder of the empire-spanning authority held within. Delegates from 100 species occupied their seats in a tiered formation, some wrapped in ceremonial robes, others clad in bioadaptive armor. Their voices, a mixture of guttural clicks, subvocal hums, and layered harmonics, merged into a droning murmur until the humans stood. Ambassador Elias Carter adjusted the cuff of his uniform before stepping forward, his expression carefully neutral. The council's attention turned to him, not with the respect given to long-standing members, but with the patience one reserved for a minor species still clinging to its illusions of relevance. A flickering display materialized beside him, revealing schematics of a planetary-scale weapon, its purpose unmistakable. "We present to this council the culmination of human military engineering," Carter announced. His voice carried across the chamber, calm and measured. "A strategic deterrent, capable of precise, long-range planetary strikes." The response was not curiosity, nor concern. It was laughter. The Zaurith's supreme strategist, a reptilian colossus whose crimson scales gleamed under the council's artificial lighting, let out a guttural hiss. Ah, humans, ever eager to impress. His fang maw curled into something resembling a smirk. "A planetary weapon? Your species lacks the precision to make use of such a thing. Do you intend to frighten your enemies by scorching continents at random?" Ripples of amusement spread through the assembly. The Psion Collective's representative, a being of living energy contained within a shifting lattice of crystalline filaments, pulsed with muted mirth. The limitations of human warfare have long been evident. Brute force, chaotic engagements, an over-reliance on instinct rather than calculation. What need does the galaxy have for another crude instrument of destruction? Carter did not react. He had anticipated this, had even counted on it. Instead, he tapped a command into the interface before him. The display shifted, revealing a trajectory simulation. A single, calculated shot fired across an expanse of space with unerring accuracy. General Alex Mercer, seated beside him, leaned forward. "We request the opportunity to demonstrate its effectiveness." His tone lacked any hint of frustration, though there was an edge of steel beneath it. The Tornathi Admiral, a towering biped encased in segmented exoskeletal plating, clicked his mandibles. "A demonstration?" His multifaceted eyes gleamed with amusement. "What would that prove? That humans can fire a weapon? That is no revelation." Another wave of condescension rolled through the chamber. Carter let it pass over him like a tide he had no need to resist. "We believe the demonstration will speak for itself," he said simply. For a moment, silence stretched between them, but it was not the silence of consideration. It was a silence of indulgence. The council had already made its judgment. They were humoring him, allowing humanity the spectacle not out of interest, but as an opportunity to cement their ridicule. Finally, the council chair, a towering being whose features seemed to shift between dimensions, gave a slow nod. "Very well. Let it not be said that this council does not grant its members the right to prove themselves. The demonstration shall proceed." There was no need for further debate. The matter, in their eyes, had already been settled. The council adjourned, their representatives dispersing in a mixture of amusement and disinterest. Carter watched them go, expression unreadable. Only once they were beyond earshot did Mercer exhale a quiet breath. Mockery aside, that went about as well as we could have hoped. Carter allowed himself the faintest of smirks. They were never going to take us seriously. But that was the point. Mercer glanced toward the departing figures, then back to his colleague. "They think we lack precision." His voice was quiet, though there was a weight to it. "They do." Carter turned toward the viewport, watching as the distant stars glimmered against the void. "Let's show them what it means to be wrong." The barren moon chosen for the demonstration was little more than a jagged sphere of rock, its surface pockmarked by ancient meteor impacts. It drifted in the void on the edge of a neutral system, unremarkable in every way but one. Today, it would serve as the proving ground for humanity's most ambitious weapon. The observation station, an orbital platform anchored above the desolate landscape, held a collection of Galactic Council representatives, their presence more of an amusement than an obligation. Some had taken seats in the observation hall, while others lingered in private chambers, exchanging speculative wagers on how spectacularly the humans would fail. Ambassador Carter stood near the viewport, hands clasped behind his back. General Mercer, standing beside him, cast a sidelong glance at the gathered spectators. "They aren't even pretending to take this seriously," Mercer murmured. "They don't have to," Carter replied. His voice remained neutral, but there was a quiet intensity beneath it. At the center of the observation hall, a vast holographic display flickered to life, revealing the Spear of Terra, a planetary-scale weapon mounted on the moon's surface. The elongated barrel of the cannon stretched along a reinforced ridge, its structure interwoven with dense layers of adaptive plating. Even dormant, it radiated power. A voice, crisp and controlled, echoed through the chamber. "Weapon systems online. Targeting sequence initiated." The Galactic Council representatives turned their attention to the screen, some barely concealing their amusement. The Zalrith Supreme Strategist leaned forward, his scaled fingers tapping idly against the armrest of his chair. "At what, precisely, is this impressive construct aiming?" Mercer remained expressionless as he responded. "An asteroid field in Sector 49 Kappa. We will demonstrate the weapon's ability to eliminate high-velocity targets at extreme range." The Tornathi Admiral chittered in amusement. "An asteroid field? A stationary target would have been too much of a challenge, I assume." Carter did not react. Instead, he gestured toward the display. "Observe." A low, resonant hum filled the chamber as energy surged through the weapon's structure. The Spear of Terra's targeting systems locked onto the designated coordinates, and a faint glow spread along its length, a soft luminescence that steadily intensified. The Zalrith Supreme Strategist exhaled sharply. The humans loved their theatrics. A final pulse of energy rippled outward, and then the shot fired. A column of raw energy erupted from the cannon, carving a brilliant path through the void. The chamber's ambient lighting dimmed as the sheer radiance of the blast outshone even the distant stars. The beam streaked toward its intended coordinates, a spear of light cutting across the abyss with terrifying speed. The Galactic Council remained unimpressed. The Tornathi Admiral exhaled a rasping sigh. Yes, a very bright explosion. What was the point of? Then the murmurs began. One of the Psion Collective's envoys turned sharply, their crystalline lattice pulsing with sudden intensity. "Trajectory projection," they said, their voice layered with harmonics. "Something is incorrect. The beam had not struck the asteroid field. It had bypassed it entirely, continuing its path into deep space." Mocking laughter rippled through the hall. The Zalrith strategist leaned back, his tail coiling lazily. "Ah, I see. They built a weapon capable of missing its target at astronomical distances." The Psion envoy did not join in the laughter. Their forms shimmered with an almost imperceptible tremor. "No," they whispered. "This is deliberate." Carter remained still. His expression did not shift. His stance did not waver. He only watched the beam as it disappeared into the void. The laughter in the chamber faded, replaced by uneasy murmurs. Some of the council members turned toward their data interfaces, recalculating the weapon's path. "What are they aiming at?" a Tornathi officer muttered. The beam did not dissipate. It did not weaken. It traveled unrelenting, toward a destination the Galactic Council had not been told existed. Mercer exhaled slowly. "They're starting to understand." The Zalrith strategist's smirk faltered. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "What is this?" No answer came, only the silence of realization settling into the bones of those who had laughed too soon. The silence in the observation hall was no longer one of amusement, but of growing unease. The beam had not flickered, had not waned, had not strayed from its course. It cut through the abyss with an unerring precision that no one in the Galactic Council had thought humanity capable of. The Zalrith strategist leaned forward, his scale brow furrowed. That trajectory, where is it going? No answer came. Not from the humans, not from the chamber's automated systems. Only the sound of frantic calculations, fingers tapping against holographic interfaces as analysts sought an answer the humans already knew. A psion envoy pulsed with erratic energy, their lattice-like form flickering. This path, it does not lead to empty space. Something cold settled into the chamber, a tension that deepened with each passing second. The laughter had died completely. Some of the delegates turned to Carter, searching for any indication that this was still a failed demonstration, a misguided test that had gone wildly off course. But Carter said nothing. He merely watched. A flurry of holographic projections filled the space around the central display, data streams flashing as automated tracking systems attempted to resolve the beam's final destination. And then the answer came. A cloaked fleet. Not just any fleet. A vast armada. Hidden beyond the edge of known space, its formation calculated and precise. Silent, waiting, unseen even by the most advanced sensors of the Galactic Council. Until now. The Psion envoy's lattice pulsed in sharp bursts, their voice an echo of disbelief. That is an invasion force. More murmurs. No, not murmurs, panic. Frantic recalculations. Readings confirming the impossible. The fleet had been there all along, nestled in the shadow of a collapsed dwarf star, concealed by gravitational distortions and sophisticated energy dampeners. They had been waiting, preparing. The Tornathi Admiral rose from his seat, his mandibles clicking in alarm. That fleet, it is not one of ours. The Zalrith strategist's claws dug into the armrest of his chair, his tail flicking in agitation. It should not have been possible to detect such a force, let alone fire upon it. But the humans had. They had aimed not at an asteroid field, not at a mere test target, but at a hidden threat poised to strike at the heart of the Galactic Council itself. And no one, no species, no intelligence network, no high-order psionic seer had known it was there, except for humanity. The beam struck. There was no grand explosion visible in the observation hall, no dramatic detonation for the delegates to witness firsthand. The only indication of impact came from the data streams that lit up across the chamber in frantic, overlapping bursts. Shockwaves rippling through subspace, sudden energy signatures flaring before collapsing entirely, hundreds of ships vanishing from existence in an instant. The invasion force had been eradicated. The silence in the hall was suffocating. A room filled with the galaxy's most powerful beings, now reduced to stunned disbelief. Finally, a voice broke through the weight of it all. The Tornathi Admiral, his posture stiff with something that was no longer arrogance, but something closer to fear. How did you know? Carter exhaled slowly, as if the answer was obvious. We've been watching them for months. A ripple of disbelief passed through the assembly. The Zalrith strategist's gaze snapped to Mercer, his slitted pupils narrowing. Impossible. Our own intelligence networks. Missed them. Mercer's voice was quiet, even, carrying no gloating, no triumph. Just a simple, undeniable truth. We didn't. The Psion envoy's energy patterns flickered in rapid succession, their forms shifting as they processed what had just occurred. You knew they were coming, they murmured. You let us believe this was a demonstration. You let us mock you. Carter turned to them, expression unreadable. Would you have believed us if we had told you the truth? No one answered. They all knew the truth now. They had dismissed humanity, ridiculed their crude methods, their reckless approach to warfare. And yet it was humanity who had seen what they could not. It was humanity who had struck before the enemy could. The Tornathi Admiral sat back down, silent, his mandibles clicking in tight, rhythmic succession. The Zalris strategist no longer smirked. He no longer spoke at all. The Galactic Council had miscalculated, and now they knew it. The weight of what had transpired settled over the chamber like a thick fog. The Galactic Council, an assembly of species who prided themselves on their vast intelligence networks, their superior strategies, their supposed mastery of warfare, had been blind to an invasion that would have shattered them. And humanity, the species they had mocked and dismissed, had seen it first. Carter let the silence stretch. He wanted them to sit with it, to feel the full weight of their own ignorance. Some of the representatives sat stiffly, their gazes locked on the data stream still flashing across their displays. Others had yet to move at all, as if shifting might make the reality of their misjudgment all the more undeniable. Finally, the Zalris strategist broke the silence, his voice quiet but edged with something raw. "How long have you known?" Carter tilted his head slightly. "About the fleet? 8 months." A murmur rippled through the chamber. The Tornathi Admiral leaned forward, his multifaceted eyes gleaming with something between suspicion and unease. "And in those 8 months, you said nothing?" Mercer's expression was unreadable. "We did what needed to be done." The Psion envoy's lattice flickered erratically, the chaotic energy pulses betraying their unease. "You let us believe this was a mere weapons test. You let us mock you." Their voice, usually a harmonious blend of layered frequencies, had tightened into something jagged. "Why?" Carter exhaled, as if the answer was obvious. "Because if we had told you, you wouldn't have believed us." No one spoke, and that, more than anything, was the truth they could not deny. They had underestimated humanity not because of a lack of evidence, not because of any true failing in intelligence gathering, but because they had never considered the possibility that humans could see what they could not. Humanity had never been given the benefit of the doubt. And now, the cost of that arrogance had been laid bare. The Tornathi Admiral's mandibles clicked in a tight rhythm, his posture stiff with something that bordered on reluctant respect. "What else have you seen?" Carter allowed a small, knowing smile. "That," he said, "depends on whether you're willing to listen this time." The chamber fell into silence once more. But this time, it was not the silence of dismissal. It was the silence of a galaxy that had been forced, finally, to take humanity seriously.